One of the many great things about being on TV and having a show, apart from being paid enormous amounts of money, you know, and the groupies and the parties, and oh no, that's the CBC, is that you do get to invite friends and people you admire very much onto your show. And Father Stefano Penna, Newman Theological College in Edmonton, he's a great man, wonderful company, and a first-class intellect. There aren't many of those around. How are you, my friend?
Well, actually, now I'm going to have to go to confession for having my head swollen by you making those comments, Michael.
I'm glad I can cause you to
It's good to see you.
It's always a great pleasure. We're speaking about Christmas for the entire show with various people, which is obviously unusual, even at Christmas time. Perhaps that's the last time you can talk about Christmas. I'd like to ask you about the nature of good and evil, because many decent people will say, well, yes, I have nothing against religion, but I can be good without any religion. And in fact, I'm probably a better person without religion. And so why can't we just be secular or atheists and still know what good is and what evil is? Is that a credible, plausible position?
Well, I think it's kind of limited in its possibilities of actually achieving it. You need to have some sort of marker for what constitutes being a good person. Good doesn't, on one hand, you can sort of say, what is good for me, or what is actually really good. Pope Benedict put it this way: if you don't have a sense of truth, then there is no direction. There's no up or down. There's nothing that you can teach to anybody. And conscience, which is essential for determining what is good or what is evil, becomes replaced by expediency. How do I achieve what is best for making me feel good? Mm-hmm. And good means happy, pleasured. And I think that's an inadequate kind of foundation. Now, I'm not going to say that good reflection, in fact, I think if one is properly rationally reflective, one can discover, if you attend to nature, you can discover that there is an end inscribed in all things that leads us to act in, that actually calls us to act in certain ways, if you listen. But I think that there is so much noise of our own ego drives and of the world's demands around us that being able to listen clearly to that, to really discover what is ultimately good, only happens if you have a mind that has been healed and is humble before God and before the wisdom of the community in which you live.
That's very interesting.
See, for example, evil is parasitic. Evil is no positive thing. You have to have someone who gives a space for it in their lives. And unfortunately, there are many, many people, as we've seen sadly illustrated just recently, who give a space for that. The great deal of Christmas is that God understands all of that. He understands our condition. And in the mess of our life, even we who are all concerned with expediency and achieving very limited goals, God comes and breaks into this mess of who we are and opens our minds and our spirits and our imaginations to live in a holy way, a whole way that our own little minds can't just understand.
It's interesting you mentioned what happened just a few days ago, and I spoke about this in my monologue, because there are many activists now arguing, I think, in quite a vulgar manner about more or less gun control, and whether it's about having more hospitals for the mentally ill. And what they failed to address, because they were too frightened to, it was almost supernatural to them, is the notion of evil, the complete lack of empathy for anyone else's suffering or feelings, the desire to cause pain and harm. No government can actually deal with that through policy and legislation.
Absolutely not. There are two things I think that we have to do in the face of any kind of horrific reality that is in front of us, like the slaughter of these innocents. And I'm going to come back to that in a second. The slaughter of the innocents is to be met, first of all, with silence and attention to the horror and suffering that's in front of us. And secondly, realize that we live in a fearsome kind of world. There is always, in this broken world, threats to us. We are never going to be able, by any fiat or any program, eliminate the possibility of accidents, of evil actions being taken by people who, in their free will or in their broken condition, giving space for the unimaginable. I think that that is one of the things that we have to be extremely clear about. And it's very interesting to me that Christmas and its celebration understands that perfectly, because in the Christian celebration, Christmas isn't one day, it's an 8-day celebration in the Catholic approach to it. And immediately after celebrating Christmas Day, Jesus born in the manger, we celebrate the feast of St. Stephen as he is killed for his faith, the first martyr. And then 2 days later, the horrible story of the slaughter of the innocents. These children by a political power that thinks it can control the world for itself and its own ends by slaughtering children. Now, when the President, Obama, gave that beautiful talk on Sunday night, it was a marvelous call for people to measure the morality of the culture by how we engage children, how we protect children, how we raise children. Now, of course, that's a dangerous question, because we cannot then sort of limit ourselves to what we think children, who we think children are. The unborn are children. The children of our enemies, that we call our enemies across the world, are children. The children of the poor are children. The children of the wealthy are children. We cannot impose our own comfortable ideological blinders in engaging children. God is born into the midst of all children. And how we live, what is good, truly, is going to be reflected to us in the faces of our children.
That's wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm so pleased that we've had you on the show. Have a wonderful Christmas, my friend. Thank you, Father.
Peace to you, Michael, and to all your family. God bless you. Merry Christmas, everyone.